The $100,000 Social Security lie that will cost you $800 per month. There's a $100,000 lie floating around retirement circles that quietly chops roughly $800 a month off your Social Security for life. It usually sounds like, claim as soon as you can, take the money. Friends say it, HR hints at it, some advisors wave it through. Here's the fix. I'll show you the simple math and clear rules that tell you whether 62, full retirement age, or 70 actually pays you more without spreadsheets. We'll hit the trigger trio that changes the answer: age, health, and work, and the one form that can lock in a bad decision. Let's kill the lie and build your plan. The lie why claim ASAP backfires. Most people feel pressure to file early because of urgency bias. You think, it's finally available, I should grab it before it disappears. Add fear of program changes, headlines about trust funds, and friends already cashing checks, and claiming at 62 feels safe. But that instinct usually collides with how Social Security actually pays you. The thing most people miss is that Social Security rewards patience in two ways and punishes rushing in one permanent way. The reward side, delayed retirement credits and inflation protection on a bigger base. The punishment, early filing reductions that never go away. Let's make it plain. Your full benefit, your primary insurance amount, arrives at your full retirement age. File before FRA and your monthly check is cut using a clear formula. 5.9 of 1% for each of the first 36 months early, plus 5.12 of 1% for each additional month. If your FRA is 67 and you file at 62, that's a 30% permanent haircut. Permanent is doing the heavy lifting here. You don't get those dollars back later. Now flip it. If you delay past FRA, you earn delayed retirement credits of 8% per year. Simple, not compounding, until age 70. That means a FRA benefit of, say, $2,000 becomes about $2,480 at 70. A 24% boost that lasts as long as you do. This clicked for me when a client realized the larger check was also the one that got an annual cost of living adjustment on that higher base. COLA isn't a random bonus, it's inflation protection layered on your chosen amount. Pick a bigger amount, you get bigger adjustments for life. Here's why that matters. Your expenses don't stay flat. Healthcare, groceries, utilities, they creep up. When inflation pops, the people who claimed early locked in smaller checks that get smaller COLA dollars. The gap widens over time. If you remember nothing else, remember this: a bigger starting benefit compounds its advantage because COLA applies to the base you choose. There's another piece almost everyone overlooks: survivor benefits. If you're married, the surviving spouse can step up to the higher of the two benefits, up to 100% of the deceased worker's check depending on timing and rules. That means the higher earner's claiming age is effectively an insurance decision for the survivor's lifetime income. Delay by the higher earner often isn't just about your break-even math. It's about protecting the survivor from inflation risk and longevity risk. Claiming ASAP can unintentionally leave your spouse with a smaller check for decades. Now the pushback I hear is, what if Social Security changes? Fair. But most changes historically protect current retirees and those close to claiming ages. Betting against your future income by locking in a permanent reduction today typically costs more than any hypothetical change might save. The better path is to use the rules we know to your advantage. Let me show you the real-world budget pain from starting too small. A viewer filed at 62 to get something. Their initial check covered basics when markets were up. But a year later, they faced higher Medicare premiums, property taxes ticked up, and groceries surged. To keep the same lifestyle, they had to pull more from their IRA. That bumped taxable income nudged them toward higher Medicare premium brackets down the road and created a feedback loop of higher taxes and faster portfolio drawdowns. If they had delayed, the bigger inflation-adjusted Social Security check would have covered more essentials, reducing pressure on the portfolio. Now here's the nuance. This isn't about always waiting. If health is poor or you need the income to avoid high-interest debt or your working years are ending abruptly with little savings, earlier can be rational. But claiming because it's there is not a plan. You need to weigh the permanent reduction against your longevity outlook, your spouse's protection, your work status, and your tax picture. The reason claim ASAP becomes a trap is it feels like a quick win that shows up next month while the costs show up slowly. Reduced COLA dollars, smaller survivor protection, higher portfolio withdrawals, and lost delayed credits that you can't recreate later. Once you file and pass the short window to change your mind, you've locked in the math. So we've dismantled the myth: urgency and fear are not strategies. The right answer depends on a few triggers that genuinely move the needle. Now, what actually changes your number? Age, health, and work. That trio drives whether the math favors 62, FRA, or 70, and it's simpler than you think once you see the rules. The trigger trio: age, health, and work status. Let's set the dials that actually move your number: age, health, and work. Once you see how these three interact, your best claiming window usually pops out. Start with age buckets. Think in 3 lanes: 62 to 64 the FRA window and age 70 as the cap. In the 62 to 64 lane, every month early locks in that reduction we talked about. If your FRA is 67, filing at 62 is the maximum cut. Between 65 and FRA, the penalty shrinks, but it's still permanent. Past FRA, every month to 70 adds delayed credits, capped at 70. There's no reason to wait beyond that. Now health, this is your longevity horizon. If your family tends to live long and you're in average or better health, delaying often wins because you'll collect that bigger check longer and COLAs compound on the larger base. If serious health issues shorten your outlook, early may be rational, especially if income is tight and debt is expensive. Here's the shortcut nobody teaches: don't guess alone. Use the SSA life expectancy tool as a baseline, then adjust for your personal facts with your doctor's input and family history. Work status is where most people mess up. If you plan to earn before FRA, the earnings test can bite your cash flow. For 2025, if you're under FRA all year, benefits are withheld $1 for every $2 you earn above the annual limit. In the year you reach FRA, the limit is higher and the withholding ratio eases to $1 for $3 before your FRA month. SSA updates these dollar limits annually. Verify the current thresholds on SSA.gov. It's not a tax, you'll get an adjustment later, but it does mean starting early while working can create choppy income and disappointment. Once you hit FRA, the earnings test vanishes. So how do you use the trio without a spreadsheet? Think break even without drowning in cells. The simple lens is this: claiming early gives you more checks at a smaller amount. Claiming later gives you fewer checks at a larger amount. The point where the totals catch up is often around late 70s to early 80s for many people. If your health suggests you won't reach that zone, earlier might fit. If you expect to sail past it, delaying shifts more lifetime dollars to you and your surviving spouse. Psychology matters too. Some folks need the certainty of a check today to sleep at night. Others value the mathematical edge of a larger inflation-protected payment. The trick is balancing psychological safety with math. One way is to build a cash bucket from savings that bridges you to a better claim age. Another is to partial retire, trimming hours to reduce the earnings test risk while delaying filing. Let me show you a quick decision tree. Start at the top. Are you still working with income above the earnings test limits? If yes, default to waiting until FRA unless you need benefits to avoid high-interest debt. If no, move to health. Do you have average or better longevity expectations? If yes, consider delaying to at least FRA, and the higher earner in a couple should strongly aim for 70. If health is poor, check your cash flow. If you can't meet essentials without debt, filing earlier is reasonable. If you can cover essentials from savings, evaluate a short delay for a better base. Age mixing in couples matters. If one spouse is older and the higher earner, delaying that higher earner's benefit strengthens both the couple's current floor later and the survivor benefit. If the lower earner is older, they might file earlier to bring income in while the higher earner delays. Deemed filing rules mean you generally can't pick just spousal benefits first anymore, so sequence carefully. Before we continue, you need to understand one more nuance about break-even. COLAs apply to the benefit you choose. That means the higher check you lock in at FRA or 70 widens the gap over time if inflation runs hot. So even if the break-even age looks borderline on a flat chart, inflation can tilt the advantage toward delaying. Let me show you exactly how this plays out with a micro story. A couple I worked with had the lower earner claim at 64 once they stopped working. The higher earner kept working part-time, stayed under the earnings test limit, and delayed to 70. Their combined income at 70 was stronger than if both had filed early. And when one passed, the survivor stepped into a larger inflation-adjusted benefit that covered housing and medical costs without raiding investments. Common mistakes to avoid: filing at 62 while still earning well above the limit, underestimating longevity because of one bad year of health, and ignoring the survivor math. Quick win you can do today: log into your SSA account, note your FRA, the estimates at 62, FRA, and 70, and circle which spouse has the higher PIA. That's your anchor for the decision. Once you nail these 3 triggers, age, health, work, everything else clicks. Next, we'll decode the actual numbers behind PIA, FRA, delayed credits, and reductions so you can read your statement like a pro and not leave money on the table. Understanding your numbers, PIA, FRA, DRCs, and penalties. Let's decode the terms that decide your paycheck so you can read your Social Security statement and actually use it. Start with PIA. Your primary insurance amount is the base benefit you get at full retirement age. It comes from your IRMAA, your average indexed monthly earnings. The SSA takes your highest 35 years of covered earnings, indexes most of them for wage growth, averages them, runs that number through a bend point formula, and out comes your PIA. You don't need to memorize the formula. Just know higher lifetime covered earnings and more full years in the top 35 raise your PIA. Missing years count as zeros, so late career work can plug gaps. Full retirement age, or FRA, is the age you can claim that PIA without reduction. For most people born in 1960 or later, FRA is 67. If you were born earlier, it's somewhere between 66 and 67. Your statement lists your FRA and shows estimates at 62, FRA, and 70. Those 3 numbers are the heartbeat of your decision. Now the reduction math. Filing before FRA permanently cuts your check. The formula is month by month. 5.9 of 1% for each of the first 36 months early, then 5.12 of 1% for additional months. Translate that, with FRA 67, filing at 62 is 60 months early, which nets roughly a 30% reduction. File 24 months early and it's about 13.3%. The key word is permanent. This reduction doesn't wear off later. It also sets a lower base for every future cost of living adjustment. Delayed retirement credits, DRCs, are the flip side. If you wait past FRA, your benefit grows by 8% per year, prorated monthly until age 70. That's simple interest, not compounding. So a PIA of $2,000 at FRA becomes roughly $2,160 at 68, $2,320 at 69, and about $2,480 at 70. You're choosing a bigger floor for life, and that higher floor will get bigger COLA dollars every year. Now COLA itself. Social Security applies an annual cost of living adjustment based on the CPIW. Whatever your elected benefit is, reduced, unreduced, or boosted by DRCs, COLA stacks on top. That's why the starting level matters so much. Percentage COLA on $1,400 delivers fewer dollars than the same percentage on $2,000 or $2,480. Over a decade, those differences become a widening gap in real purchasing power. Let's connect survivor benefits, because this is where many couples get tripped up. Survivor benefits are based largely on the deceased worker's benefit at death, including the effect of early reductions or delayed credits, subject to survivor filing age rules. If the higher earner delays and locks in DRCs, the survivor can step into that larger amount, up to the allowed maximum based on their age when claiming survivor benefits. If the higher earner claims early, the survivor inherits the smaller number. So delaying by the higher earner can be thought of as survivor insurance paid in lifetime income, not premiums. A quick word on spousal benefits to set expectations. A spousal benefit can be as high as 50% of the worker's PIA if the spouse claims at their own FRA. Claiming spousal before FRA reduces it. Deemed filing rules mean if you're eligible for both your own and spousal benefits, you're considered to have filed for both, and you'll get the higher of the two, not both stacked. Survivor benefits are different. Deemed filing doesn't apply there. Now, how to read your statement the right way. Log in at SSA.gov and pull your latest statement. Do 3 things. Verify your earnings history year by year. Errors happen. If a year shows 0 and you worked, that could cost you for life. Gather W-2s or tax returns and fix it with SSA. Note your FRA and the estimated monthly benefits at 62, FRA, and 70. Those are modeled assuming you keep earning at your current rate until filing. If you plan to stop work early, use SSA's online calculator to adjust future earnings assumptions. Identify which spouse has the higher PIA. That person's timing drives survivor protection. Common mistakes when reading the statement. Assuming the 62 number will be the same even if you quit work immediately, forgetting that estimates increase with more earnings, and overlooking that COLA will move all 3 numbers over time but the relationships remain. One more nuance: reductions and credits are calculated monthly. You're not forced to pick just 62, FRA, or 70. Filing at, say, 68 and 4 months earns partial DRCs. If you need to bridge only a year, those extra months still matter. Finally, penalties and flexibility. The early reduction is baked in once you pass the withdrawal window, and the DRC schedule ends at 70. After you claim, COLAs apply to your chosen benefit. Before FRA, working can cause benefits to be withheld under the earnings test, but withheld months are later credited by recalculating your benefit at FRA to reflect the months you effectively didn't receive. It's a postponement, not a tax. If you remember nothing else from this section, PIA is your base, FRA is your unreduced target, early filing cuts it forever, delayed credits raise it until 70, and COLA amplifies whatever choice you lock in. Now let's put real numbers on this with case studies so you can see the trade-offs in dollars, not theory. Case Study A, single filer, 62 versus FRA versus 70. Let's run clean numbers so you can copy the math with your statement. Assume your PIA at FRA is $2,000. That's the check at your full retirement age with no reductions or credits. Using the actual rules, filing at 62 with FRA 67 cuts that by about 30% to roughly $1,400. Waiting past FRA adds 8% per year until 70, so at 70 you're around $2,480. $3 anchor numbers, $1,400 at 62, $2,000 at FRA, $2,480 at 70. Now the lifetime lens without spreadsheets. Let's look at 3 longevity points, age 75, 82, and 90. Ignore COLA for a moment to see the structure, then we'll layer it back in. From 62 to 75 is 13 years, 156 checks. At $1,400, that's about $218,400. If you wait to FRA at 67, you get 8 years to 75, 96 checks at $2,000, that's $192,000. At 70, it's 5 years, 60 checks at $2,480, or about $148,800. At 75, early wins on totals because you got more checks. Push it to 82. From 62 to 82 is 20 years, 240 checks at $1,400, $336,000. FRA, 15 years, 180 checks at $2,000, $360,000. Age 70, 12 years, 144 checks at $2,480, roughly $357,120. Around the early 80s is where FRA and 70 catch, and past 62 for many. It's the break-even zone. Now age 90. From 62, 28 years, 336 checks at $1,400, $470,400. From FRA, 23 years, 276 checks at $2,000, $552,000. From 70, 20 years, 240 checks at $2,480, $595,200. Now the later filing pulls away. That's before we even add inflation adjustments. Layer in COLA because it pushes the advantage toward the higher base. Say COLA averages 2.8% over time. The $1,400 check rises, sure, but 2.8% on $2,000 or $2,480 throws more dollars into your pocket year after year. Over a decade, the dollar gap between the early benefit and the 70 benefit widens. This is why the higher base plus COLA combo is powerful for long lifespans. Cash flow realism matters. Starting at 62 gives a smaller check earlier, which can be a relief if you need it to cover essentials. But starting too small can force higher withdrawals from savings when costs jump, especially health and housing. A viewer in this exact single filer spot filed early, then hit higher utility and insurance bills 2 years later. The shortfall came from their IRA, nudging taxes up and tightening the budget. If that sounds stressful, consider a short bridge from savings to reach FRA or even 6870 for a stronger base. Break even without drowning. With our $2,000 PIA example, the FRA versus 62 break-even often lands around age 78-80. 70 versus 62 can be near 80-82. If your health suggests you'll likely clear that zone, delaying can raise lifetime income. If serious health limits push your horizon shorter, earlier filing can be reasonable, especially to avoid high-interest debt. When does early make sense for singles? Here are the practical green light cases. You can't meet basic expenses without debt and have limited savings. Your health outlook suggests a shorter horizon and you value income now. You're shifting to part-time work under the earnings test limits and need a modest top-up, fully aware of the permanent reduction. When does waiting shine? You're in average or better health and expect to live into your 80s. You want a bigger inflation-adjusted floor so investments can take less pressure. You're risk-averse about market swings and prefer guaranteed income covering essentials. Common mistakes for singles: filing at 62 because it's there, not checking the statement for earnings errors, quitting work and assuming estimates won't change, and ignoring the monthly flexibility. Filing at 66 and 8 months still matters. Quick win: create your custom table in 15 minutes. Log in to SSA, grab your estimated benefits at 62, FRA, and 70. Open SSA's online calculator and input your actual earnings if you're stopping work soon. Write down your pilot FRA, the reduced amount at your earliest intended date, the boosted amount at 70, a simple lifetime total at ages 75, 82, and 90.